Okay, so I am going to tell you a story, and I put it in a post earlier a couple days ago about the book Kite Runner, so I'm going to maybe read through some of it for anyone that would like to listen, enjoy this few minutes, some downtime at least. Okay, so the book is called Kite Runner. It is written by Khaled Hosseini. Khaled Hosseini was born in Kabul, Afghanistan, the son of a diplomat whose family received political asylum in the United States in 1980. He lives in Northern California, where he is a physician. The Kite Runner is his first novel. I really love this book. But I'm going to tell you, I want to say this because the story of what happened in Idaho, I think it's very relevant. Without reading too much into the book so far, I'm just going to read some notes from this. These are just some reviews from different news outlets. This is from the Denver Post. A beautiful novel ranks among the best written and provocative stories of the year so far. A heartbreaking story of an unlikely friendship. This usually eloquent story is about a fragile relation between fathers and sons, humans and their gods, and men and their countries. Loyalty and blood are the ties that bind their stories into one most lyrical, moving, and unexpected books of the year. This is from the San Francisco Chronicle. A marvelous first novel, the story of two young boys who are friends in Afghanistan, an incredible story of the culture. It's an old-fashioned kind of novel that sweeps you away. It does. This is by Isabel Allende. It is so powerful that for a long time everything I read seemed bland. Yeah, that's exactly. I felt that same way. Okay, this is by Publishers Weekly, starred review. Brilliant, startling plot twist makes the book memorable, both as a political chronicle and a deeply personal tale about how childhood choices affect our adult lives. The character studies alone would make the noteworthy debut, from the portrait of the sensitive and secure Amir to the multilateral development of a father, Baba, whose sacrifices, scandalous behaviors are fully revealed only when Amir returns to Afghanistan and learns the history and its ramifications in both America and the Middle East. The result is complete work of the literature that succeeds in exploring the cultures of previously obscure nation that has become a pivotal point in the global politics of the new millennium. It is rare that a book is once so timely, of such highly literal quality. It is that kind of book. It really is. No matter where you find yourself, if you're not riveted by the story, I don't necessarily mean you have to have any political. Put your politics aside and your opinions aside and read this book. And I'm just going to highlight some things because I think it's important to know when you read a book like this and you look at the story of the little girl in Idaho, the 5-year little girl, you'll understand something that happens in a lot of childhood's lives, like their encounters or things that kids will run into. But this being very important to the case that is happening. And in my opinion, I think a lot of people need to read this because you're going to understand there's a lot to this. Okay, so let's go there. Okay, December 2001. I became what I am today at the age of 12 on a frigid, overcast day in the winter of 1975. I remember the precise moment, crouching behind a crumbling mud wall, peeking into the alley near the frozen creek. That was a long time ago, but it's wrong what they say about the past. I've learned about how you can bury it because the past claws its way out. Looking back now, I realize I have been peeking into the deserted alley for the last 26 years. And I'm going to stop here because I know I'm not going to have a whole lot of tape to just read off everything. But if you really understand the first paragraph, he lays out what will be the story about the alley, about what happened in the winter of 1975. And he wrote this in 2001. In the alley, and I should go into the story because I don't want to give too much away, but there's a situation, and of course the person that is the main character in this, of course, will be Amir. Amir and Hassan were friends. They were from different tribes. Amir's dad was a diplomat. He had an important role in politics in Kabul in the 1970s. But Hassan was from a Pashto tribe, which is typically a very poor tribe. A lot of other things with that I want to get into, and I'm just going to leave it at that for now. And some of the problems that the Pashto tribe ran into is very similar to what we hear about with the Jewish people and like Hamas. It's the best way I could explain it. There's a lot of persecution that happens in similar situations, and this exactly was similar to some of the conflicts that the Pashto people had run into, and from what the story says. So, just to highlight that, Amir, we just found out Amir is the main character writing this. Okay, let's talk about Hassan a little bit, because Hassan is very important to this story. And as you get into this, I would like you to maybe even read it for yourself. Hassan and I, it was as if we fed from the same breast. We took the first steps on the same lawn, in the same yard, and under the same roof. We spoke our first words. Hassan's dad was a servant to Amir's dad. So they basically grew up in the same household, even though Hassan's father was a servant. Hassan and Amir were friends. And they were born at the same time. They practically grew up with each other. And if you know a little bit about Hassan's father lived behind the house. And if you get a picture of the house that Amir's dad, the diplomat, it's obviously from the story, you know that there's a lot of things around. Like the environment was pretty, from the picture images that I get. There was a picnic table. They had sandwiches, meatballs, you know, just the way they, you know, I'm sure there was probably, you know, they spoke Farsi, which is language in Afghanistan. And I guess what really troubles me about the story, without getting into too much detail, is that when you read into this, and as you further go into the Kite Runner, you understand that there's a lot of inferences made about the Russians who listened to Amir, and there was a relationship that Amir's dad had with a lot of political, I mean, they obviously got political asylum, so there was a lot of political stuff going on. And if you find out more about the kite, how they would go out and they would fly the kite and it would catch a certain wind, it was something that I think, the takeaway I take from it is that they had this certain freedom that came with watching the kite fly. And you almost have to ask yourself, a kite, we take it for granted, but when you're thinking back in terms of 1975, they didn't have computers. These are the simple things that people often take for granted now. And, you know, there was not the toys that we think of today. I mean, simple things. I remember growing up in that time period too. So, you know, we didn't have a lot of the expensive toys. I didn't grow up with a lot of money. So the toys that we did have, we took a lot, appreciated it. But that's similar to what I think a lot of people experienced in the 70s, you know. I mean, unless you came from a family that had a lot of money, it's probably maybe different. But overall, we all had these simple toys that we overlook today, you know. And I thought that was kind of sweet about this, because you could take the essence of that in itself. And I haven't read this for a while, but I'm going to skip into the middle towards the end, because there's so much I don't remember about reading this, but I want to read it again. And it really is hard to just skip over so much. So I'm going to get to something that might really provoke you to want to read this. And I'm just going to start somewhere. The floor beneath me begins begins to feel the part of my body. My breathing is growing heavier, slower. I want to sleep, shut my eyes, and lie my head down on this cold, dusty floor. Drift off. When I wake up, maybe I'll discover that everything I saw in the hotel bathroom was just part of a dream. The water drops dripping from the faucet, landing in the plink of the bloody bath water. The left arm dangling over in the side of the tub. The blood. What a time to. Okay. The blood-soaked razor sitting on the toilet sink, the same razor I had shaved with the day before, and his eyes still half open and lifeless. That more than anything, I wanted to forget those eyes. Soon sleep comes and I let it take me. I dream of things I can't remember. Someone has tapped me on the shoulder and I open my eyes. There is a man kneeling beside me. He is wearing a cap. The man behind me in the swinging doors and the paper surgical mask over his mouth. My heart sinks when I see a drop of blood on the mask. He has taped a picture of my dewy-eyed little girl to his beeper. He unsnaps his mask, and I am glad that I don't have to look at the Soharb's blood anymore. His skin is dark like the imported Swiss chocolate. Missed that part, sorry. Hassan and I used to buy when we were in Bazaar and Shahu Nayi. He has thinning hair and hazel eyes topped over and curved eyelashes. In a British accent, he tells me his name is Dr. Nazwazi. And suddenly, I want to be away from this man because I don't think I can bear to hear what he has come to tell me. He says the little boy had cut himself deeply and had lost a great deal of blood, and my mouth begins to mutter that prayer again. And that's page 348, and there's a lot more to it. Where I'm going to leave off with this is that Sahar was Hassan's son, and in the story of the assault that occurred to Hassan in 1975, that winter, starting back when we're just reading the first paragraph, Hassan and Amir grew up and they encountered something that happened in the alley, and Hassan was assaulted, and he continued to be threatened even into his adult life, and then he died. But he had a son, Sahar, and the same people that sexually assaulted Hassan when he was a little boy were after his little boy, and that's where we leave off, is a Sahar. When Amir reappears in the story back in Kabul, Afghanistan, he found his little boy, Hassan's little boy, in the circumstances that led to him being assaulted too. And I think when you read the reviews, it just tells you more that this, in fact, is that powerful. I'm going to take just a paraphrase. It's an unlikely friendship, and it's a heartbreaking story. And it's heartbreaking because, some kids have more of a leadership quality, and Amir had more of a leadership role. Hassan was not like that, but he leaned on and he trusted Amir to look after him. And the day of that event that occurred in the alley, you can get a better picture why, when Hassan was assaulted, he went into this silent vigil. And anytime someone's going through some kind of abuse, if they go to a silent place, it's a safe place, And I think about what Hassan encountered in that alley when he was bullied by these 3 boys, and he was sexually assaulted, and Hassan couldn't be, I don't know at that point how old he was. I believe he was probably 7 or 8 in the story. So what I was just going to say is I recommend getting the Kite Runner. With the story with the little girl in Idaho, it really tells the same story to me in some ways. The 5-year-old little girl, and when kids are bullying kids, and then in this case, the story in Hassan, very similar. You could really just remove any of the religious barriers and just read this book and understand. You'll get so much out of it. I recommend it highly. Thank you.